What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another video. Today I'm going to be talking about Night of the Demons, the 2009 remake. So I'm at the end of the Night of the Demons franchise here. We're ending off the series of reviews with the 2009 remake, and you know what? I'm kind of sad to finish this series of franchise reviews because I had quite a bit of fun with this series. I really liked part two. Part two was awesome. Part three was kind of cool, but yeah, I didn't really know what to expect going in, but yeah, the Night of the Demons series overall, it's not bad. Kind of a cool little franchise. So there you go. But anyways, this is the last review in the series, and it's a remake. It's from the whole initial remake era, from that span from the 2000s to the early 2010s, and I'm biased to that era of remakes because those were coming out when I grew up. Like 2009, I was like 11 years old, so that was when I was a kid, and yeah, so I'm biased to that era, but okay, I'm biased to that era, so usually I'm a sucker for this era of remakes. But was I a fan of Night of the Demons, the remake? I was not a fan. This movie, yeah, it was there were a lot of things that I did not like. I had way more dislikes than likes, and just overall, the movie did not do it for me, and it was hard to get through. So yeah, my overall opinion of Night of the Demons from 2009 is that yeah, I was not a fan of this. Now I'm gonna jump into a little plot summary. So the movie centers around this group of people. They are attending this Halloween party at this mansion, and this mansion has some history. Back in the day, in 1925, all these people got possessed by demons, and it was a mess. So yeah, in its present day, these people are they're attending this Halloween party at this mansion that has some troubled history, and this party gets shut down. So most of the attendees leave, but there's a small group of people that inadvertently stay in the mansion, and they're locked in. The one of the girls, Angela, she is initially possessed by a demonic spirit, and she starts possessing other people in the small group, and the remaining survivors are just trying to survive the night and not become demonically possessed. So that's the basic plot summary. So my first gripe with this movie, my first bone to pick with this movie is related to the dialogue. Let me tell you what. The dialogue in this movie was not that great in my opinion. So I don't swear too much. I feel like swearing is cool, but it's like anything. If you do it in excess, it quickly becomes it quickly becomes not cool. So I like a lot of, like, the only comparison that I can think of is like Rob Zombie films. I do consider myself a fan of quite a few Rob Zombie films, but in his movies you have like excessive swearing, and it's almost jarring. Like, I feel like you have to use swearing sparingly. You have to, if you overuse it, it loses its impact. Like a great example of like a movie that that utilizes swearing well is the John Carpenter movie Prince of Darkness. I don't recall there being a single swear word in that movie up until later in the movie. I believe it's in the third act. There's this one guy, and he's just going through it. All kinds of crazy stuff is happening, and he says, the F word, and it really has emphasis because they didn't use it before then. So swearing can be effective in movie dialogue, but like I said, like a lot of times, like in a lot of Rob Zombie movies, even though I'm a fan of a lot of his work, the excessive swearing in the dialogue turns me off. This movie had so much swearing. It feels like every other word in the movie was F this, what the F, we're effed. And I was just like, I was kind of like doing one of these. I was like, come on guys, like this is too many F-bombs. Like maybe if I was 13 years old, maybe if I did watch this movie in 2009 when I was 11, I would think like, wow, that's really cool. They're saying all kinds of swear words. Adults say swear words. But me being a grown gentleman, it's a turn off for me. I'm like, this is too much swearing. And in addition to all the swearing, a lot of the dialogue was, I don't know, it just didn't gel with me. Like Edward Furlong's character Colin, I feel like every other word that came out of his mouth, if it wasn't saying the F word, he was saying dude or man, and he would even like refer to women as dude or man, which, I mean, I've done that in the past, and some people like will call their girlfriend dude, like that's cool, but I don't know, in like hearing that in a movie, it was just kind of jarring. And I'm a fan of Edward Furlong. I'm a big Edward Furlong fan, and I've watched interviews with him, and he kind of talks like that. Like he kind of has cool lingo. Like he's kind of like nonchalant. He'll say like dude or man a lot. He kind of he's got kind of like I said, laid back lingo. But even though I think when he's talking like that in an interview, I think that's totally fine. Like that's how he talks. I talk like that. I use a lot of slang. I say dude all the time. I say man. But it seems like he just he kind of just like phoned in his dialogue. Like I don't know if they really wrote it like that where it's like man or dude, but he was just saying man and dude all the time, and I don't know. It just didn't work for me. Like if I'm talking like that to my buddies, or if he wants to talk like that in an interview, totally cool. But for a character in a movie to talk like that, I mean, I guess his character was a drug dealer, so he doesn't have to be he doesn't have to have like the utmost, like the best vernacular, but I don't know. It just kind of, maybe this is just like a personal thing, but it kind of bothered me. Like it's like you need variety with the dialogue. Every other word can't be dude, man, or F. It's like when you're writing a paper for school. You don't want to start every sentence with the. That's how I felt. Like I just felt like it was bad writing. Okay, so that was my first gripe. My other gripe was the characters. I really didn't care about any of the characters. Like they were never really fleshed out. They were never really built up. I spent the entire movie with all these characters, but I really didn't know any of their names. I mean, I knew Edward Furlong's character Colin. I knew he was a drug dealer, and I knew he had some history with Monica Keena's character Maddie. Other than that, I really didn't know that much about them. There's this one guy who was like a paintball player. I knew that about his character. So I didn't really know much about these characters. I wasn't really like invested in them personally, and when stuff was happening to them, I really didn't care that much because they weren't built up. Like I couldn't care because I didn't know anything about them. So I feel like the characters were kind of lackluster in this movie. not that, like I said, it's, well, I didn't say this in this review, but I've said this in other reviews. You know, horror movies, they don't call for a lot of character development, but I gotta know, you know, I gotta feel like I know these characters a little bit, you know? Yeah, that's not character development. You don't need character development, but you need to build up their personality a little bit, and that was not really done in this movie. Another gripe I have with this is the CGI was kind of excessive, and it was not really good. There was some practical effects. It was probably like 20. No, I'll say, yeah, like around like 25% practical, and then 75% CGI. Maybe I'm off on that a little bit, but it was, the majority of the effects were CGI, and it did not look good. And then my last gripe is this movie, I feel like, did not have as much comedy as the other films, and I really liked how the other films had a comedic tone, and that was one of like the high points of the other films for me. So yeah, this movie, there was only like a few comedic sequences, and they weren't super funny. One of them was really funny, but I'm gonna mention that in my likes. But yeah, I feel like the comedic tone was this movie didn't have as much of a comedic tone as other entries in the series. So that's my last negative. Now I'm jumping into positives. So there were a couple callbacks. I really enjoyed the callbacks to the original. So you had, early on in the movie, you had a Linnea Quigley cameo. Her cameo was great. She did she did a callback to the original where she like bent down to like grab some candy. It was funny. It was a nice little callback. It was great seeing her. There was also a callback to the scene in the original where she puts like a tube of lipstick in her boob. So they did a callback to that, and it was funny because it almost looked like, because it looked kind of fake in the original when they did that. Like you could definitely tell like she had like a rubber chest going on. And this one, it almost looked worse. Like the original came out in 1988. This came out in 2009. It either looks as fake or worse in this movie, which is kind of funny. But yeah, the moment in the movie that I thought was really funny, it was tied to that lipstick in the boob scene. So there's this one guy witnesses that, and he's trying to explain it to everyone else, and he doesn't want to just say it outright because it's kind of perverse, it's kind of inappropriate, and he'll sound crazy. And he's trying to explain it without like really saying what went down, and he's kind of like beating around the bush. And eventually, I'm paraphrasing here, but eventually he's like, yeah, she grabbed a tube of lipstick, put it in her boob, and it came out of her vagina with a bunch of blood. So I thought that was funny. Like I think he used some different verbiage, but I don't want to get demonetized. Psych, no, I'm not even monetized. I only have a couple hundo subs on here, but no, I'm like grateful for that. I'm not saying that like I only do, but I don't have like enough to be monetized is what I'm saying. But I thought that was like the funniest moment in the movie. I really liked that. It was funny because he's like beating around the bush, and then he just outright says it, and he's saying all these profanities, and it was great. So I really liked that quick little comedic sequence. That was cool. And then my last thing that I have here for my likes is I really liked seeing a lot of familiar faces. You had Edward Furlong. I'm a big fan of him. Shannon Elizabeth, she rocks. It was great seeing her. Her performance was actually pretty good too. Monica Keena from Freddy vs. Jason, she's in this. It was cool seeing her. Of course, seeing Linnea Quigley was cool, and then Tiffany Shepis was in this movie for a little bit, so always cool to see her. So yeah, there was like a lot of actors and actresses that I really like in the movie, and for the most part they did pretty well, so that was cool. But anyways, that's all I have for my likes. Now I'm gonna jump into my recommendation, and I'm gonna peace out. So, in terms of a recommendation, I would not recommend this. I think this is just it's just a lackluster horror film. I don't think it's like a serviceable remake at all. It seems like, people say this a lot of time with the remakes, they're just a cash grab or they're unnecessary. A lot of the time I don't agree with that because I love this era of remakes, but this really did kind of feel like a soulless remake. It did kind of feel pointless. I mean, even though I wasn't the biggest fan of the original, I would much rather watch the original than this. So yeah, I would not recommend the 2009 Night of the Demons. Just stick to the original if you want to watch. If you want to watch. If you don't want to watch one of the sequels, if you just want to watch a one-off, stick to the original. But I mean, like I said, in previous reviews in this franchise, I really like Part 2. I would honestly I would recommend just watch Part 2. Part 2 is it's magical. So if you really want my honest opinion, my 2 cents, I would say out of the Night of the Demons franchise, really just watch Part 2. Like, Part 2 is where it's at. But if you want to watch like a one-off, you don't want to watch a sequel, watch the original 1988 Night of the Demons. But anyways, that has been my recommendation, and that has been my review of Night of the Demons 2009. Thank you all very much for watching, and peace out.